Yeah, okay, what I want to talk about is what's important to me. I guess it's kind of obvious, but here it goes. What I want to talk about is the idea that autism is a thing, and with that, you have to do a lot to correct yourself. For one thing, you can't. All right, okay, so here goes. Um, Here goes. Basically, I'm a new part of life where I'm trying to do something different. A lot different actually. And part of that is I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do the whole new attitude, I guess, or whole new idea. And that's that I'm going to have to try very hard to work past a lot of the things that held me back for the last decade almost. I think I have a better idea on how to do that. I have to be very careful. I have to be very much on point and in form. It's one of those situations where if I very much too much from a plan, I'm in trouble. What I realize is that my brain, the way I think and the way I live, is like dough or water, not like rigid like most people are. I conform to whatever shape I am, which means my environment pretty much signifies what I am. So I have to be more controlling on my environment, which means the food I eat, how I physically move throughout my day, the sounds I hear. I have to be in control of that. I have to be in control of the information that comes into me. I cannot hold my form without controlling what's around me. And that's the new tactic I want to have to try to use. I have to be very careful with it. It's a very tricky situation. I can't get trapped in in the form I'm trying to build around me. And again, it's kind of like feng shui when you think about it, but I have to learn how to do it without trapping myself, and I can't leave it, because once I leave it, I lose so much. My brain just goes to shit. Okay, what am I going to talk about? I guess some of the things I've learned when I was in Toronto, because I've learned a lot when I was there. Some of the things that I've learned are the idea that, okay, I'll explain it. I went there initially just to meet other people like me, and I also went there to explore my interests, and I went there to do something different, and I have to go on all three of those points, because it was interesting, and it was bad, it was good, or mostly good actually, but not extremely balanced. But I went there to meet people like me. I did meet some people like me, more than I would meet in my hometown, but it was actually somewhat of a failure, as in I didn't really meet more than one person I really thought was worth my time. Long term at least, which is something you could do anywhere. So that was kind of a waste in some ways. Now, also it was completely, Toronto's a place where you can be autistic or on the spectrum or whatever, and it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. People kind of ignore you, so it really doesn't matter there in a way it does in a smaller place. That is true, and I was free from that. But it was almost to a degree that's, what do you call it? A degree that's kind of, it's almost to a degree that's kind of defeating. I mean, it's helpful to be free of all that, but at the end of the day, you lost sense of who you are in the city, and that was the hard part. Now, the second part of this is exploring my interests. For me, it was a great place to explore my interests for a while. For a while, it was amazing. At the time, my interests were music and not music, culture. And for that reason, it was great. Linguistics, primary language. And it worked out great to a point, right? I mean, it was exactly what I thought it would be, a linguistically diverse place. I actually tried to learn a little bit of Polish and Ukrainian, so it was nice in that sense. But it failed on the one point, which was that the languages that I actually liked weren't as present, which is German. It was almost non-existent. Also, the secondary problem with that was the ability to learn a language was harder than I thought, and then easier. It was good as you can imagine once you're immersed in it, working with people that don't speak your own language. But at the same time, it was kind of shitty because you had to get to that point, right? Um, and it's harder to get into people's culture than you would think, and that's one thing I noticed. And once you got into a culture, in my case, I got into the Polish people and Slavic or Eastern Europeans, whatever, and I got into the culture, but then I was trapped within it, and it was almost as bad as never being in it at all. Um, so, and that was a huge part of the process. It was there. It was exactly what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't the cultures I wanted to be in, I guess, in one way or another. Also, I learned that culture, which is insanely important, is dramatically affected by the environment and the people that seek out that environment. In Toronto, there's just a lot of money grubbers, and it kind of took away from the culture because I got exposure to another people, another way of living, but then they were exposed to this way of living I didn't really like or approve of, and that was the hard part. I think if I met similar people in my neck of the woods, or what I consider more normal, which is like a mid-sized city, it would have been it would have been my dream, but it didn't work out like that. Um, okay, and then the last part was I want to try something different, and it was different, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about conquering fear, dealing with pressure, and putting myself in stressful situations. Um, and this goes to the thing I've learned. Fundamentally, I need to be physically engaged, no matter what I do. That's just how I need to live. I need to be physically engaged. Second to that, I learned, and this is the kicker. This is the part that really blew my mind. Is I'm a pattern thinker, and why that's important because it explains why I'm interested in the things I'm interested in. Why my special interests are, music and culture and architecture and stuff. I also got an architecture. Can I say that? And what interested me was the patterns. And I realized that was missing in my other supposed interest, which was engineering and science. Is I can never engage in the patterns, and without realizing that's what interests me and what attracts me, I kind of got lost in it. I couldn't appreciate it. It was a first network of pattern thinking, and then to go along with that thought, I also realized that part of my obsessions were social, unneededly so. Um, they were almost counterproductive because you were so obsessed with, I'll say, learning another language that you lost sight of the people teaching you the language or something. You know what I mean? It wasn't social. Like you like languages because that's what people do. You want to communicate, and then when you're actually trying to communicate, you realize that your interests distract you, and that was a problem I had. Also, I learned a lot about having interests. That's great. Um, so I just keep on that main thing. But pattern thinking is leads me to my next line of thinking, which is I want to go to school because I think I learned how to learn better now.